Minnesota, who is running to succeed Tim Walz as Minnesota governor. It's good to see you, Senator. The administration says they finished the job in your state, which they say was to make Minneapolis safer, to make the country safer. How do you see this?
I don't know what they think their job is, if it means 2 innocent people killed, American citizens, if it means 5-year-olds and 2-year-olds deported to Texas only to legally return, if it means pulling a Hmong elder out of his house in his underwear and then telling us, oh, we had the wrong guy and the guy we were trying to get has been in prison all along. I don't know if that's the job they did. You know, I support them going after violent offenders and making sure they're not in our community, but we know that is a small percentage of the total number that they actually arrested. We had so many legal citizens that were pulled out of their cars or pulled out of their homes or thrown into ICE vehicles, driven a few blocks, dumped out, or brought to a detention center, and in some cases brought to Texas and brought back. So I don't know if the job that they're talking about is that, but what I do know is that the people of Minnesota stood up, 50,000 strong. I was at that march in 10 below zero weather, helping their neighbors, bringing food, and they stood up and they stared them down, and we did not blink. And yet, it is not over, because as you point out, there must be accountability, of course, for the deaths of Renee and Alex, but there also must be accountability for all of the other damage they did, economic harm to our state. And now, until they are overhauled, and then until this enormous funding that they got changes, we do not know where they're going to go next.
I want to go back to funding, but what about Tom Homan's qualifier, Senator, that quick reaction forces will stay behind to focus on what he calls agitators? What do you make of that, and is that in ICE's purview?
You know, I do not know what he means by that, but clearly in their purview is supposed to be immigration enforcement. If he's talking about arrests that would be made, say, by the Minneapolis police if people weren't peaceful, when the vast majority have been peaceful, or St. Paul police, or sheriff's deputies across the state, I don't know exactly what he means. But I will say he told me, and he has now said this publicly, that they were going to draw down this many of them to their, what he calls the original footprint of the immigration enforcement numbers. And we just got to make sure that that's right. That's one of the things when I am home over the next few days, I'm going to be making sure this is actually happening.
Your colleague, Republican Senator Rand Paul, just this morning walked through the Alex Preddy shooting. He questioned ICE's tactics. He talked about accountability. I want to play that.
There has to ultimately be repercussions. I think he is retreating at every moment. He's trying to get away, and he's being sprayed in the face. I don't think that's de-escalatory. That's an escalatory thing. So while pepper gas, you might have a theory of how it might be a de-escalation. In this case, without a question, it is. But I can tell you, if we come back with a result, and people say we looked at it, nobody's to blame for anything, and there are no changes, I think it destroys the trust in ICE.
Your Attorney General, Minnesota's Attorney General, just testified that federal authorities are withholding critical evidence in the investigations into the shootings of Renee Good and Alex Preddy. So I wonder if you, Senator, have received any updates on the status of those probes. Is there, in fact, a joint investigation going on of the Preddy killing? What can you tell us?
When Keith says that the evidence has been withheld, I clearly believe him. Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is the Minnesota investigatory body that has been involved in so many other investigations, seasoned professionals through governors of both parties, and they should be able to have access to whatever evidence they need in both the Renee Good death as well as the Alex Preddy shooting. And what we are so concerned about here is that there be accountability, and I truly appreciated Rand Paul's words. I've said to my Republican colleagues in these hallways several times over the last few weeks, you know, if you truly believe in liberty, which I believe Rand Paul does, then you've got to look at this. If you believe in the First Amendment right to assemble, those rights have been violated in Minnesota. The Second Amendment right to bear arms, when they criticized Alex Preddy for simply being a lawful permit holder And when you can see clearly on the video, it was the border control agents that took the gun out of his holster. If you believe in the Fourth Amendment right against search and seizure or the Fifth Amendment right to due process, these rights have been violated in Minnesota. So I appreciated Rand Paul being willing to stand up when it comes to accountability.
He is not in the majority, obviously, among your Republican colleagues. And I don't know if you heard Senator Ron Johnson just speaking directly to Keith Ellison and saying, 2 people are dead because you encouraged them to put themselves in harm's way. When you hear things like that, does it tell us anything about what other cities across the country may have coming, or what your thought is about where we do stand in terms of this immigration enforcement, as they call it, across the country?
First, say that your eyes don't lie. Americans, Minnesotans, and Americans have seen that video of Alex Preddy and of Renee Good. They've seen both videos. They've seen Renee Good's last words, "I'm not mad at you." They've seen Alex Preddy's last words about helping a woman who'd been pushed down. They've seen it. So your eyes don't lie. So no matter what Senator Johnson wants to say and blame it on the Attorney General, blame it on other people, he can go ahead and do it because Americans know what's happening here. And so our efforts right now are to overhaul that agency. They should never have gotten that much money. They're now bigger than the FBI. I hope there's going to be a thorough analysis of how much money was spent in Minnesota of taxpayer money. That $75 billion that they got extra in their budget, that would have paid for 3 years of extensions to help people with their premiums for their health care plans under the Affordable Care Act. $18 million a week is one estimate in Minnesota for their hotel rooms and overtime for cops, everything that happened. That could have gone to local law enforcement to keep us safe. Budgets are a value statement. So that's going on at the same time that this agency must be overhauled. They should be trained. They should not be able to work on a bounty system, as your previous guest, John, pointed out. They should not be able to ram into homes without judicial warrants. The list goes on and on and on.
Senator Amy Klobuchar, it's good to see you and have you on the program once again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chris.